Hey guys, today I speak with Chris Watney. Chris Watney, author of the book Corinthians, a mais bela história do futebol mundial. Uh, I have many questions for you, Chris. I started the question firstly. How was the situation in 2021? Uh, you almost they are playing.
I got on the wrong plane.
Yes.
It's true. In 2001, we came to Brazil, and we went for a day trip. We played against Corinthians under 21 team, and then the next day we went on a day trip to Rio, and at the Rio airport, we were coming home to Sao Paulo, and they just said, go and get the first train, the first plane you can find. Like, your plane is over there. And so we ran out onto the tarmac, and no one really pointed us to where our plane was. And I was the last one, and I didn't see where everyone else had gone. Suddenly everyone had disappeared. And so there was a plane there, and the stewardess at the bottom of the stairs said, come on, quick, you're going to miss your plane. You've got to go. And so I thought, okay, so I sort of run along. And I get into the plane, and I sit down in my chair, and I look around, and I think, wow, I made the plane. How lucky. And I look around, and there's nobody there that I know. And there should be about 40 people from the Corinthian-Casuals. And I look around, and I think, this doesn't seem right. And they start closing the doors. And eventually I jump up in my chair, and I say to the air stewardess, is this going to Sao Paulo? And she said, no, it's not. I think it was going to Porto Alegre. And I said, no, I've got to go to Sao Paulo. And she said, Sao Paulo's that plane over there, pointing out the window. And so I'm, oh no. So quickly I get up and I run, and they open the door for me. They pull the ladder back, and I'm running down the stairs of the plane, and I'm waving at the pilot, saying, stop. And I could see in the windows all the other players on the Corinthian-Casuals tour with me, and they're all watching me just running across the tarmac. And when I got onto the plane, everyone clapped me, and there was a lot of laughing, and I got, it was a joke for the rest of the tour. But I nearly ended up in Porto Alegre, and I don't know how I would have got home.
Porto Alegre, far from.
Yeah.
Other question for you, Chris. How was the final of 2021 in Corinthians versus Botafogo São Paulo?
Oh, wow. That was amazing. That was really amazing. That was the first time we had ever experienced Brazilian football, like where we were actually at the game watching the Corinthians playing. And we arrived about 3 hours or 2 hours before the match. And already there were thousands of fans there for the final. And we walked in, and when we first got to the stadium, we came in at a corner, and we had to walk the whole way around the stadium to get to our seats. And so we had to walk past thousands of fans. And we turned up, and we're 40, guys from England wearing a Corinthian-Casuals polo shirt. We were wearing these like red polo shirts, and everyone recognized us. So they all stood up and started singing Timaeo, Timaeo. And it was absolutely amazing. We had to walk through all these fans. And when we finally got there, they put flags on us and hats on us and shirts. And then we got to watch the game. And it was amazing. It was the team of Marcelinho and Everton. And it was an amazing team. And sadly, it was 0-0, I think. The final score was 0-0 because in the first match, Corinthians...
Corinthians 3? Botafogo 0.
Yeah.
Corinthians Championship...
they'd already
0-0.
Yeah, so Corinthians had already won. So it was 0-0. But after the game, we were all celebrating them winning the match. And then suddenly they had the trophy in their hands, and they came running around the stadium to where we were. And Marcelinho, and they were all sort of singing up to our section. And the crowd was going mad. There were fireworks, and it was an incredible atmosphere. And I remember the stadium shaking underneath us, everyone was jumping. The song at the time was like, ooh, Mussolinio, and the stadium was shaking, and it was absolutely amazing.
Marcelinho, it's a great player in the history of Corinthians. Do you know other players, for example, Rivellino, Neto, Socrates?
Yeah, amazing players. They're all incredible. And in making the film, I was lucky enough to meet some of these guys. So I met Neto a few times. I met Rivellino a few times. And obviously Socrates I couldn't meet, but I met Socrates' wife. And yeah, amazing guys. Like Neto on his TV program, he really helped us out in trying to make it happen, and helped us with sponsorship, and helped us get the story out that we were coming and that we were going to play, and really helping us. So they're great players, but even greater guys. Like, they're good men.
Did you learn a lot of music about Corinthians?
a lot of what information?
For example, Timão Var Corinthians, Aqui Tem Bando de Loucos, or other musics.
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I had some filming days on the terrace in the stadium with the Gaviões, and underneath the big flags, when they have the huge flags over everybody, and it was really raining the day that I was filming with them, and the songs underneath the flags, you can't see any football, but everyone is going mad singing these songs. And yeah, I thought the songs were brilliant. I loved it. And then when you go to the Gaviões parties at the warehouse, or Camisa 12, and you go to the party and the bands are there banging the drums, and yeah, we had so much fun with that. I think the songs, I didn't know what the songs meant, like I learned them, but I didn't know what I was singing. And then for the film, Danilo at Muchimau translated for me the songs about we love you Corinthians, and no matter what happens, we'll love you. And it's from when Corinthians got relegated. And it was all about how it doesn't matter, we're just going to love you anyway, because, And I was like, wow, that is so perfect for the story I want to tell. So yeah, I thought the songs are great songs.
How was the Poropopó in Gaviões?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one for us to sing. We don't need to learn much Portuguese to sing that one. Everyone can sing that one. But yeah, it hurts your shoulders when they do that, when everyone's jumping up and down.
Yes, Poropopó.
Yeah, you end up getting sore, but it's great. And I remember in 2001, after the match, there was not many fans at the Parc Saint-Georges, but there were some fans. There was about 4,000, I think. And they were all singing pop, 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 pop. And all the team were jumping in a line, going up and down. And it's a great sight to see, because I forgot they did that. And I recently watched the video of 2001. I was like, oh, wow, that's what we did then. And we also did it in 2015. So yeah, it's a nice song.
Chris, what's the most dream, in my opinion, is Corinthians visit London. Do you think that situation?
It would be nice. It would be really nice. I've got, it was something that we used to talk about. We when I was organising the match in 2015, we used to talk about it as being sort of the next stage, the next event. But it just hasn't happened. And now with coronavirus and COVID, like it's so difficult at the moment. But there are opportunities there, and I know that a lot of the members of the club came to Corinthian-Casuals, especially when Corinthians were going to Japan for the World Championship in 2012. And I have a really nice photograph of Andres Sanchez at Corinthian-Casuals. And I would really like to try and make that happen. But I think it's difficult because obviously we can't provide a stadium like the Arena Corinthians. And so maybe we would have to play it somewhere else, but we'd have to do something at Tolworth. But it would be great to also get either the under-21s or a team of legends. Like, it'd be amazing to have the legends, the masters of Corinthians, and they could come over, like Neto and Marcelinho, and they could come and play Arob or something. Do some kind of event would be really nice. We've had some, opportunities, but it's never happened. It'd be good.
How was the Danilo and Socrates wear the Corinthian-Casuals, the shirt? It's beautiful, in my opinion.
Thank you. How did that happen? Well, Socrates was amazing. In 1988, I wasn't on the tour in 1988, but the people who I've spoken to tell me that when they were at the hotel before the match, they were waiting to go to the Pacaembu to play the match, and they were at the hotel, and the team bus arrived, and sitting in the front of the team bus, it was an empty bus, but sitting in the front of the bus with the driver was Socrates, and he came to the hotel to spend time with the players and get to meet the players before the match. And I thought that was so nice that he did that, you know. And then he obviously switched sides with 15 minutes to go, having scored the only goal of the match for Corinthians. And that was really a really special moment for Corinthian-Casuals, but also for Corinthians Paulista. And in 2015, we really wanted to try and do the same thing and do something where maybe this time someone from Corinthian-Casuals could play for Corinthians Paulista. And so, it was amazing that Danilo did it. But we were worried during the game. It was my job I played for the last half an hour of the game. And for the last half an hour of the game, I had Jamie Bate, the Corinthian-Casuals striker, shouting at me for most of the 30 minutes, saying, Watney, when's it going to happen? Are we going to change shirts? Are we not going to change shirts? Like, what's going to happen? Because he was really keen to do it. He really wanted to do it because Jamie loves the Corinthians Paulista, and he really wanted to play for Corinthians Paulista. But the score was only 1-0, and I think, but Chiche says he wasn't, but I think Chiche was nervous because it was only 1-0, and if Danilo came and played for us and scored for us, and it was 1-1, the final score, I don't think he would have been very happy. So he waited until it was 2-0 with about a minute to go, and he made the decision to swap Danilo and Jamie Bate, and it was a really fantastic moment. It was so cool. But originally, Cassio was going to swap with Danny Bracken as well in goal, and have Danny Bracken and Cassio swap goalkeepers. But I think because of the time in the match, that couldn't quite happen. But it was a beautiful moment, wasn't it? It was a great moment when they swapped.
Cassio, the most goalkeeper, in my opinion, of Corinthians. Chris,
so
did you think Corinthian Football Club inspiration Real Madrid kit and inspiration Corinthian Paulista? It's a great moment in your opinion.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story. So Real Madrid wear white because of Corinthian FC, and basically the story is what happened was that the guy who started Real Madrid, or there were a couple of people who started Real Madrid, and one of them was an English guy. And he was really involved in all their tactics and talking to them about how to play football, because in Spain, it was still quite a new sport. And so he said we should play in white because he remembers when he was back in England before moving to Spain, he used to watch the Corinthians. And so he said we should play in the same kit as the Corinthians. But the story also continues that in 1925, the team of Real Madrid came to England on a tour, and they went to watch Corinthians play at their home ground, which was the Oval. And they went to the Oval, and they saw that the Corinthians played in blue shorts and blue socks. And the two centre-backs of Real Madrid, they looked at it and said, oh my gosh, we should play in blue shorts and blue socks. We only play in white. We should play in blue shorts and socks. So they went home that season and they swapped the kit to play in blue shorts and socks like Corinthians. And in the Copa del Rey, the Spanish Cup final, they lost to Barcelona 5-0. And the chairman, the president, came down into the changing room and he was so angry. He took all the blue shorts and all the blue socks and he threw them in a bin. And he said, we're never playing in these unlucky shorts and socks again. And the two defenders, the centre-backs who made the change, they got kicked out the club and they couldn't leave their houses for 2 weeks after the final because the fans were so angry. And so, yeah, they basically cost, well, the president fought, it cost them the league. But it was a great story of Real Madrid playing in white because of Corinthians. And then Corinthians Paulista, the biggest clubs in South America and the biggest club in Europe. It's great.
Great. Do you watch so many Corinthian games in England?
Yeah, we do. I managed to get them. You can't really get them legally. So I have a website where I managed to watch Corinthians games in England, but it's not illegal. But I don't actually know if you can watch the Brazilian league. So I have a thing. So does Jamie Byatt. Jamie Byatt and I watch he probably watches every Corinthians game. I watch most Corinthian games. But yeah, they've had a bad couple of seasons. It hasn't been great the last couple of seasons. I'm hoping they're going to be better soon. Willian will change it, I think. He's a great player.
How was the visit at Corinthian-Casuals and Gaviões da Fiel? How was the situation? It's very great.
It was cool that we went there. It was amazing we went there. So the couple of months before we came to Brazil in 2015, myself and my producer and partner in making the film, a guy called Jay Barrymore, we came to Brazil and we said to the guys who were helping us, a guy called Daniel Kepler and Monica Rosenberg and Danilo at Muchamal, and I said to them, in 2001, we didn't really get to meet the fans. We didn't get to really have a party with the fans. And I really want to have the Corinthian-Casuals meet the fans. And so they said, oh, you should go to Gaviões. And I went to Gaviões that night and I was just blown away. Like, it was just the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. Like, the noise and the whole thing, the atmosphere, the heat, the passion, the friendliness, and people before then had said to me, be careful going to the Gaviões, like, be careful because you're English, they won't know who you are, it'll be a bit strange, it'll be crazy. And when I got there, it was just so happy, like everyone was smiling, and when we got there, I said, I'm going to give them a Corinthian-Casuals shirt. And people were like, well, I don't think they're going to want the pink shirt. They probably don't want the pink. Maybe give them the white shirt. They won't want the pink shirt. And I got the shirts out, and I had a pink shirt and I had a white shirt. And everybody was fighting for the pink shirt. And I was like, oh, okay, everyone, this is good. The Gaviões want the pink. That's good. And when we went back with the club, I said to the guys, we're going to go to like a party, but I didn't tell them too much about it. I wanted the cameras to see their reactions of surprise, really, at what they saw. And we took the chairman, the president of the club, and he was in his shirt and tie, looking very smart, walking around, and another club president who was there as well in his shirt and tie, very English, and he was walking around this party thinking, you know, where am I? This is like a different universe to what he's used to in England. And it was just such fun. The band, and they dragged us onto the stage, and the drums were all banging, the bateria drums were all banging. And they got us on the stage, and we had to sing, and you couldn't hear anything. Like, the noise was so loud with the tin roof, and oh gosh, it was incredible. It was really, really incredible. And they're amazing people. And then we got taken downstairs to where a guy called Dennis ran the cultural department, with Monica Rosenberg, with us translating. And he was like, okay, well, look, we put on this good party for you, but what can you do for us? And that's when we organized the training session where we raised lots of food and donations for families in the favelas. It was from Dennis in the Gaviões cultural section. But they're really good people doing amazing work for kids who maybe don't have all the opportunities in life, and I was just so happy to help them. They put on such a party. It was unforgettable.
Did you list in Carnival of Gaviões?
Did I see the carnival?
Yes, Gaviões have 4 trophies of Carnival.
Yeah, I saw them rehearsing for Carnival, but I've never been to Carnival, and that's my next big dream, is to come to Carnival one year. When coronavirus has all finished, I'll come to Carnival. But they were rehearsing. And so the first time I went to Gaviões, they were rehearsing, and it was about, I'd say it was about 1:30 in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the morning. And they were doing their drums, and then they said, right, we're going to go out into the street now. I said, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, you can't go in the street. And sure enough, they opened up the big doors, and the whole band walked like they're in Carnival out into the street. And it was pouring with rain, with thunder and lightning. And they were banging on their drums. And I was stood right in the middle of them all, thinking, I'm sure we've now woken up everybody in Sao Paulo with this noise. Like, it was so loud. And yeah, I want to come back and watch them in action in the carnival. That'd be amazing.
Chris, when you arrived in São Paulo, how was the situation? Many fans in São Paulo.
Yeah, it was incredible. We turned up, and so I was on the plane coming to Sao Paulo with the team, and as we got nearer to Brazil, I could see the little airplane on the computer screen, on the map, on the plane, getting closer to Sao Paulo. And I started getting a bit nervous. And I thought, what if it all goes wrong? What if no one's there? Like, what if this all goes wrong? And so I started having like a bit of a, like, feeling sick and a bit of a panic attack almost. And I went to the bathroom on the plane, and I had to breathe, and I had to like try and stay calm before landing. I started thinking, what am I doing? I'm taking all these guys to Brazil, and it could go wrong. And when we got out in Sao Paulo, I said to everyone, okay, we need to change into these shirts, these white shirts, and they look like the football shirts that the first ever Corinthians played in Brazil. I said, we got to change into these shirts. And so where you collect your bags at the airport, everyone's taking off their tops and putting on new shirts. And everyone's saying, why are we doing this? Like, why? Why are we doing this? I said, well, there might be some people outside. I don't know. There might be people. And if there are, we want to look good. And so we then walked through the corridors, and suddenly I heard this noise of people shouting Chimayo and Corinthian-Casuals. And we came around the corner, and there was just a sea of people waiting to meet us. And they were all jumping up and down, and there were people on the balconies, like with flags for Casuals, and it was amazing. It really, and it was the first time that the players had really seen the fuss and the attention that they had, and it was amazing. It was something which really set the whole week off, because if that had gone wrong, then maybe the whole week would have gone wrong. You know, like, I needed that beginning to be great so that the players were all then on board, because until they got on the plane, there were some players who didn't believe that they were coming to Brazil. Like, there were some players who still didn't believe. I think even when they flew over Spain and started to get to Brazil, they still were kind of like, is this going to happen? But when we got there, suddenly it was like, okay, we're here, and here's all the fans, here's the fuss. And it was a big moment, a big, big moment.
Chris, what's the most victory of Corinthian Football Club in your opinion? In my opinion, it's Corinthian 11, Manchester United 3. Have you other victories, for example, Corinthian 4, Manchester City 1, Corinthian 10, Bournemouth 0. Great victories in my opinion, but I like Corinthian 11, Manchester United 3.
That is a good one. That's a good one. I like, so France are currently the world champions, and we beat them 11-4. So that was good. We beat France 11-4. But I think we beat Fluminense 10-1. I mean, that was quite good. Beating Fluminense 10-1. I'm happy with that. So that was good. But yeah, I think Manchester United 11-3. That's a good one, because I'm also a little bit a Liverpool fan, and so I quite like that we beat Manchester United 11-3.
It's the most victory in my opinion, Corinthians 11, 3 Manchester United. How was the final, for example, the fans received the Corinthian-Casuals, the situation?
How did the fans of Corinthian-Casuals... Sorry, say that again.
In 2001.
Yeah. In 2001?
Yes.
How did the fans receive us then? I think... So when we arrived... I think the differences, the thing which has changed since 2001 to 2015 is social media. So before 2015, I started building up the Facebook page and the social media for Corinthian-Casuals from about 2013. In 2013, we had about 5,000 fans on Facebook, and then the whole Brothers in Football project began, and quite quickly I managed to get it to about 100,000 fans, which was amazing. I mean, that was just like ridiculous. And then it got eventually up to 150,000 fans when we actually arrived in Brazil. And so there were a lot more fans who knew about us, and I'd really tried to have the fans get to know personalities like Jamie Byatt. I really wanted them to feel like they knew somebody who played for the club. Whereas in 2001, people didn't have that ability, you know. Just like we only really knew about 1988 because of stories that we'd heard people tell us who had been there, but there was nothing that we could watch on. There wasn't YouTube and there wasn't Google, and so we couldn't find it all out, you know. And I think in 2001, some fans were really passionate, and I remember at the match they were desperate for a Corinthian-Casuals shirt, or they were desperate because the newspapers had told stories. But it was nothing like 2015. 2015 was much bigger. But there was, you could tell in 2001, there was a moment when we drove to the stadium and the bus pulls into Parc Saint-Georges, and there are lots of fans there banging at the side of the bus and cheering us as we drove in. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, I'd love to one day come back and do this properly, and like try and make a film of it, and try and really tell the Brazilian fans more about Corinthians, because the story of who we were, I don't think people really knew who we were. To be honest, I don't think people really knew who we were in 2015. Not all the stories that are in the book, you know. I think that's the good thing about the book and the film, is that I'm trying to help people understand who this club is that Corinthians Paulista came from. Like, it's an interesting history, and I'm trying to get the stories across, because it kind of makes the Corinthian Paulista history 30 years more. Like, there's another 30 years before 1910, which are amazing, and it's all part of the club's history. So, yeah, that was the big change, was the social media.
What's the most rival of the Corinthian Football Club in the history? It's Preston North End, or actually it's Kingston?
What's the home? So what's the question?
What's the most rival of the Corinthian Football Club? Preston North End in the history, actually Kingstonian.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so at the moment, it is Kingstonian. I would say Kingstonian, because, and bizarrely, they now share our ground with the club as well. They've sold their stadium to Chelsea, and Chelsea's women, the female team of Chelsea, play at Kingstonian's ground, and so now Kingstonian play at Corinthian-Casuals ground. But they are locally a big rival. When I was playing, it was probably a team called Croydon Athletic, but Croydon are no more. And if going back in history, we used to have a lot of good I mean, yeah, Preston North End was an amazing story, and Preston North End were the Invincibles. So Preston North End were the first club in English football to play an entire season without losing a match. And they then came to play against Corinthians just before the FA Cup final. And we
beat Park Rangers of Scotland. It's a water rival.
Yeah, so Queen's Park is another one. So Queen's Park were the reason why Corinthians began. So Queen's Park used to be the best football team in the world. And they used to have most of their players play for Scotland. And so when Scotland kept beating England in 1881, the Corinthians founder, a guy called Pa Jackson, he watched the game and he worked for the English Football Association. And he said, we need a team like Queen's Park, because Scotland had just beaten England 6-0. And he said, we need a team like Queen's Park where all the best players can play together regularly and improve the national team. And so that's what he did. He came home and he set up his own team, which was Corinthians. And he got the Queen's Park captain, a guy called Andrew Watson, who was the first ever black player to play the game. And he was also captain of Scotland. And he got Andrew Watson to come and play for Corinthians and teach Corinthian how to play this clever football that the Scottish played. And that was the beginning. And Corinthian and Queen's Park for many years used to play each other. And that was a really nice rivalry. Yeah, that was good.
Chris, do you have a other club in Premier League? For example, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United. Do you have a fan of a other club?
Yeah. I'm a Liverpool fan.
Whoa.
Liverpool.
Yeah. Liverpool have a great song.
Yeah.
Walk Alone.
Yeah, You'll Never Walk Alone. I know, and it's true, they do. And so basically, I wanted to create a song for Corinthian-Casuals, and so I said to a friend of mine, a guy called Rich Austin, who's a musician. I said, "Come on, we've got to write a theme tune for Corinthian-Casuals for the film, and it's got to be about Corinthians Paulista, and it's got to connect both the clubs." And so together we managed to write this song called Brothers in Football, and we found this Brazilian rapper called Dom Franco, and now, just like You'll Never Walk Alone is played when Liverpool come on the pitch, at Corinthian-Casuals quite often Brothers in Football is played when the players come on the pitch, and that's really cool for me, because I always really wanted that to happen, and it's great. It connects the clubs, it connects the history, and yeah, it's cool. Having a song is cool, no?
How was the repercussion in 2012 of fans of other clubs? Corinthians won Chelsea. It's a great moment.
Yeah, that was brilliant, because the nearest Premier League team to Corinthian-Casuals is Chelsea, and so when the final happened, we had a bit of a party at the club at Corinthian-Casuals, and we had all the players and some fans all come and watch the game, and loads of the players were Chelsea fans, and so it was quite funny, because we all wanted Corinthians Paulista to win. Yeah, so it was a good rivalry, but it was a really good night. And that weekend, loads of fans were coming through London to get to Japan for the final, and they all came to Corinthian-Casuals to buy a shirt or to buy a scarf. So that was a really nice weekend.
For example, it's funny, in my opinion, Palmeiras don't have a word of clubs in Brazil. It's very important for fans of Corinthians.
Yeah.
Do you know about Bate history?
Yeah. What's it called? Nunchon Mundial? How do you say it? Nunchon Mundial?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it. It's great. When they got to the World Championships last year, I was worried that Palmeiras were going to win, but they didn't. But yeah, it's a really good thing. That it's amazing, having done all the work and research to tell the story of the Corinthians in both the book and the film. It's amazing that 120 years later, the name Corinthians is still at the top of world football. It's still at the top tier of world football. And it might not be us anymore, but it's you guys, it's Corinthians Paulista. But that's really lovely that we were the greatest team of the amateur age, and now Corinthians Paulista in 2012 were the greatest team in the professional age. And that's amazing. It took 102 years from 1910 to 2012. And that's really cool. I was really happy when they won.
Do you know other clubs in Brazil? For example, São Paulo, Santos, Cruzeiro, Atlético Mineiro, Flamengo, Fluminense, Vasco, Botafogo. How is the clubs in England?
It's an interesting one. It's interesting because in England, our impression of Brazil is football. Like, Brazil is football. You know, you're a football country. Everyone's playing football. You create the greatest players. You win all the World Cups, etc., etc. But the stories about the teams aren't that greatly known, you know. And I know them because obviously I've done a lot of work in Brazil to tell these stories. But I don't think most fans would recognize. Like, when I'm walking around in England, I usually have on something which has the Corinthians Paulista badge on my chest. I usually wear something which is Corinthians Paulista when I'm going for a jog or whatever. And not very often do I get somebody stop and say, "Oh, Brazilian football, Corinthians Paulista," or like, I feel like people don't know what the badge is, you know. And it's interesting. I don't know why. And I know that FIFA are trying to create more with this World Championship, and they want to do a bigger World Championship. And I think that would be really good for the Brazilian clubs, because it would help them get their story out more and get their brand out more. But yeah, there isn't a great history of English teams playing Brazilian clubs. So people don't really know too much about the Brazilian clubs. But I like, well, obviously I like Corinthians Paulista. But yeah, there's some great clubs, really good clubs in Brazil. They should be known more.
How is relationship with Jamie Byatt? Jamie Byatt, it's a great player in my opinion.
Yeah, Jamie's great. Jamie's brilliant. So when I first met Jamie, I was probably about 21 years old, and so it was about 19 years ago. And I was the striker for Corinthian-Casuals. And suddenly one summer, it was the beginning of a new season, and this new striker came to join the club. And he's only short. He's about, I don't know what he is, 5'6", 5'7", I don't know. I apologize to Jamie if I've got that wrong, but he's not very tall. And he came in, and at the time, we were completely different. Like, we were complete opposites, you know? And Jamie came in, and he was quite sort of angry. He seemed very sort of serious, and he seemed very determined and confident. And he kind of, we didn't really connect. We didn't really talk much, you know? And I thought, oh dear, I don't know how we're going to play together. I don't know if it's going to work with me playing with him. And when we first got to know each other, it was difficult. But then, over the years, over nearly 20 years of knowing each other, I soon realised that actually we're really similar, because the thing that we both loved the most is Corinthian-Casuals, and we connected over that love for Corinthian-Casuals. And I had to take a break from the team, and I had injuries and work, and I had lots of issues, and I had to take a break from the team. And when I came back in 2013, the only player who was from the old days for me was Jamie Byatt. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. I can, you know, I know somebody. So that's an easy friend to make on the first day back. And Jamie was brilliant. And he immediately he immediately took me under his wing and helped me on my first couple of days of training. And I was so thankful, because it's a bit intimidating when you go to training at the beginning of a new season and you don't know anybody. It's a bit scary, you know, like everyone's got their friends. It's like first day at school. And Jamie said, come on, you do the running with me. We'll do the exercise together. You passed it. Yeah, we were, you know, he was my friend. And we quickly connected again. And he's such a good guy. He's such a nice guy, an honest guy, who was just a brilliant support for me for the whole project. And then he started scoring all these goals. And he's always scored goals, but that season, when we started filming him and we started doing social media, he scored more and more and more goals. And yeah, Jamie came into his own, and he was incredible.
Chris, how was the repercussion of William in Corinthians? For example, no, don't. I know the William play in Sunday. How was the repercussion of English? In English?
The what of the match in 2015?
Yes.
What when we came home in 2015? What did people think of the game?
Okay.
Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was. So when we came back, what's always really difficult is adjusting, because when you're in Brazil as a player for Corinthian-Casuals, you have an experience which I don't think anybody can describe. No, you know, I can't describe to my friends quite what it is that we've just experienced, because it's so unimaginable. It's like it's a dream beyond a dream. Like, it's ridiculous what happens when you go and play in Brazil. And so when we come back, I had to make sure my parents came this time, because they weren't there in 2001, and I really wanted my girlfriend and my parents to just come and watch the match and see it, because in 2001, when I came home, I think everybody thought I was mad, because I came home and people would say, how was your holiday in Brazil? I was like, well, it wasn't a holiday, this happened. And I'd tell them all the stories, and they'd be like, what? Well, that's ridiculous. That can't have happened, you know? And so I was really keen to try and make sure that somebody in my life could actually say, yeah, I know, I saw it. It was amazing, you know? And in England, you don't get, it wasn't televised in England when it actually happened. And so we put on a screen at the ground, and we had a big screen in Tolworth with a projector showing a stream of the match. And we had all the fans and parents of the players go and watch it at the ground. And I'm pleased we did that, because that enabled some people to see it as well. But it's hard, because you get home and no one knows. So when the match happened, after the game, I came off the pitch and I went straight to the press conference to watch Matt Howard, our manager, do a press conference with Chiche. And Chiche was sat at the table with Matt Howard, and Matt Howard was talking his interview, like saying the answers and doing really well. And I just thought, how crazy, because our manager, Matt, was a taxi driver at the time. And I thought, you know, on Monday, Matt's going to be back driving his taxi all around London, and he's going to pick up people in the back of the taxi, and no one's going to know who he is or what he's done. And yet on the Saturday, he's just managed a team against the world champions, against Chiche, in the arena, you know, in front of 30,000 people. And in England, people just don't know this. And so we had to wait years until the film came out in order for people to actually see it. And then you got all these messages on social media, and where people were crying watching the match, saying this is amazing. And they were saying how incredible it is of Corinthians Paulista, that they wanted to know more about their history, and that they wanted to embrace the Corinthian-Casuals and have their brothers play against them. People were so moved and touched, because the world of football today is so professional that doesn't happen very much. And so it was really celebrated as this incredible thing that Corinthians did.
Chris, Corinthian-Casuals play FA Cup. It's very important in your opinion. For example, Corinthian-Casuals versus Manchester United, Chelsea, or other club. Do you think?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? The FA Cup's an amazing tournament, and you're right, everyone can play in it. And it was the first tournament that we ever entered as a club, because the Corinthians never allowed themselves to play in matches with they never allowed themselves to play for a tournament, for a prize or money. And so they entered the FA Cup in the 1920s for the first time, and they had some amazing matches in that. And then now, going all the way up to the present time, playing in the FA Cup is a big thing for the club, because you can earn a lot of money to help the club continue and pay the bills. The FA Cup is a good way for little teams to earn some money. And so they did really well against Worthing last week. I don't know if you saw that, but they won in a replay against Worthing. And now they're playing Leatherhead, which we were saying about rivals. Leatherhead is a very local rival. They're a nearby competitor. And if we win that, then we get through to I think it's the second or third qualifying round. And eventually we could be playing Manchester United, or we could be playing Liverpool. It's a great tournament where everybody's in it, and you never know. It could be your year, and you could end up playing against the big teams. So it's pretty exciting.
Chris, did you watch William, player of Corinthians? For example, in Brazil, it's how was the repercussion in English?
I love Willian. So I'm a Liverpool fan, and when Liverpool sold Coutinho, I wanted Liverpool to try and buy Willian to replace Coutinho because I thought he was great. I know some Chelsea fans that at the end of his career with Chelsea, they thought that perhaps he was not playing quite as well. And then at Arsenal, it didn't go quite as well as he would have hoped, I'm sure. But he's such a talented football player. I mean, his feet are fantastic. He can pass, like his free kicks and his assist making and his dribbling. He's a great player. And I think in the Brazilian league, he's going to be brilliant for Corinthians Paulista.
Chris, I thank you for the interview. It's very important, in my opinion, an interview the person of the Corinthian-Casuals. Do you tell more things? For example, promote your book?
Yeah. So what can I promote? So basically, the book, which is, I'm sure, will you hold it up? Can you hold the book up?
Yes, I buy the book.
There's the book. So that's the great book. So we wrote that with Thomas Rossellino from mundial. And Thomas is a fantastic writer. And it's the story of how the Corinthians became so famous and how they came to Brazil and how they set up the Corinthians Paulista team. And there's Jamie Byatt. And then it's the story of how we made the film, and it's my story of how we got to make the film. So that's available at mundial, but also at Amazon and lots of bookshops. And then the film, mais no futebol. Is that how you say it? Mais no futebol? The film Brothers in Football is available on Telecine. It's available on Google, on Now,
YouTube.
Yeah, it's available on all the different channels. So you can on YouTube. Yeah, exactly. So you can find the film on YouTube, and then the shirts. You can buy the shirts at Netshoes, and that's really good for the club as well. And Shop Chimal and Netshoes for Corinthian-Casuals shirts. So yeah, you can do all of that, and just support the club, support the team, and it's a great story of how we are together. I say that the film is the story of the most romantic story in the beautiful game, and that's the truth. It is the most romantic story in the beautiful game, and the family and the brotherhood of the two Corinthians together is so special, and we thank you for all your support.
Chris, I thank you for the interview. I speak English so, but I understand many words.
Great.
It's great, in my opinion. Do you have, for example, do you watch games actually of Corinthian-Casuals? I want to know, but I publish in Informativo Coringão, that website. I publish actually every game. It's very important in your opinion, too.
Yeah, it's vital. It's so important. It's so important to do that. To the work that you're doing is so fantastic, and we really appreciate it and thank you. And we want to try and have more matches streamed on the internet as well, so that people can watch more matches. So we're trying to do that, and we're going to try and have it so that people such as yourself and other fans can watch Corinthian-Casuals in Brazil, because I think that's natural. It's 2021, and it's about time that we did it. It's crazy that we're not doing it as much as we could. So we're going to try and do that now. That's the next big project.
I study English actually. It's very important to practice. I speak English to other people. Thank you, Chris. I finished that interview. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you very much. Obrigado.
Obrigado. Vai, Corinthians.